Number 8. Mercedes-Benz W123. The Mercedes-Benz W123 was built during the era when the engineers at Stuttgart were told to build the best car possible, regardless of what it cost, which is why one 40-year-old diesel W123 is still running as a taxi on the island of Gran Canaria and has been since 1988, accumulating an estimated 4.3 million miles in service. Not a typo. The W123 diesel that ferries passengers around Gran Canaria today has covered more distance than most commercial aircraft. In 2021, Bring a Trailer sold a 300D with 782,000 miles on the odometer for $9,123. The buyer considered it a bargain. The diesel variants, the 240D's 2.4-liter naturally aspirated inline-4 and the 300D's turbocharged 5-cylinder are the engines of record for this category. The 240D produces 72 horsepower on a good day, which means nobody bought one for speed. They bought one because the Mercedes-Benz engineers of the mid-1970s used materials and tolerances that the accountants in the 2020s would refuse to approve. The MB Tech's vinyl interior still looks presentable after decades of use. The door closes with the weight of something built before weight became an optimization variable. The W123 is at number 8 because it is the beater that makes the newest luxury SUV owner feel embarrassed. A German taxi from the disco era that has outlived every warranty, every infotainment system, and every subscription service the modern automotive industry has invented. Number 7. Volvo 240. Volvo built the 240 from 1975 to 1993 without making significant styling changes because the engineers had gotten it right and saw no reason to fix what functioned. The red block B230F, a single overhead cam, cast iron block, non-interference design with a compression ratio of 9.8 to 1, was built with the specific intention of running indefinitely with proper maintenance. Documented examples include a 1 million-mile 240 reported by Hemmings, a 262,476-mile car covered by AutoWeek, and a 480,000-mile example from The Drive. The 240 has its own active club of owners who treat the 400,000-mile mark as the beginning of the car's interesting years rather than the end of its useful ones. The 240 is not fast and not stylish. It is a brick-shaped Swedish machine built during the era when Volvo's marketing proposition was survival, and it delivered on that proposition with an honesty no touchscreen-equipped competitor has matched since. When something fails on a 240, any competent mechanic can fix it without a laptop or a manufacturer's technical support line. Parts are available, the design is logical, and the cast-iron red block's tolerance of neglect is documented in enough owner reports to cement its reputation. Number 6. Jeep Cherokee XJ. In 2011, Jeep publicized the story of Jan Ritchie and his 1988 Jeep Cherokee Pioneer, a car that had accumulated 612,000 miles at the time of the story, with no internal engine work performed on the original 4.0-liter inline-6. The mileage was documented, the engine was stock, 3 logbooks covered every service expense, every fuel stop, and every location where maintenance had been performed. The 4.0-liter PowerTech inline-6 became the engine that Jeep XJ owners reference when they want to explain why they still drive a car that hasn't been manufactured since 2001. The XJ ran 17 years with minimal platform changes because the engineers had produced a unibody compact SUV with solid front and rear axles, a straight 6 that competitors could not match for outright durability, and a simplicity of design that gave the owner who understood basic maintenance the ability to keep it running indefinitely. Many surviving XJs have surpassed 200,000 miles on their original engines. Documented examples at 300,000 and 400,000 are not rare in the XJ community. They are expected. Number 5. Chevrolet CK Pickup Square Body. The square-body Chevrolet CK was built before anyone at General Motors decided that a truck needed a center console display, a lane-keeping system, or a Wi-Fi hotspot. It was built with an inline-6 or a small block V8, a mechanical fuel pump, a carburetor that any shade tree mechanic could rebuild for under $50, and a body-on-frame construction that absorbed decades of actual work without requiring a dealer scan tool to diagnose. The engines, the 250 inline-six, the 307, 350, and 400 small blocks were the iron block power plants that American contractors and farmers ran for hundreds of thousands of miles on maintenance schedules that would make a modern service advisor wince. Finding a square-body CK today that has not been turned into a collector vehicle or a lifted show truck requires patience, but it can be done. A running example with 150,000 miles and some surface rust can still be purchased for under $5,000 in most American markets, and the mechanical systems beneath whatever cosmetic wear the decades have imposed are repairable with the same parts catalog that existed when the truck was new. No proprietary connectors, no software modules, no subscription-based features that stop functioning when the billing lapses. Number 4. Toyota Camry. The Toyota Camry of the 1990s is the beater that nobody wants to admit is a beater. It is beige, it has cloth seats, it has manual windows and base trim. It has a 2.2-liter four-cylinder that produces enough power to maintain highway speed and no more than that. And it does not apologize for any of these qualities because none of them are relevant to the thing it was actually built to do: run reliably for as long as the owner maintains it. The 5S FE and 1MZ FE engines that powered the 5th-generation XV10 Camry are documented at 300,000 miles in ordinary ownership with no internal work beyond oil changes and timing belt replacements performed on schedule. Today, a 1997 Toyota Camry with 180,000 miles on it can be purchased from a private seller for approximately $2,000. The buyer who does so acquires a car whose powertrain often still has plenty of life left, whose basic mechanical systems are comprehensible to any mechanic trained before 2005, and whose operating cost is the inverse of every number associated with a modern SUV payment. Number 3. Ford Crown Victoria. The Ford Crown Victoria was the last American car built on the premise that a full-size, rear-wheel drive, body-on-frame sedan with a 4.6-liter V8 was the correct answer to what a large American vehicle should be. Police departments across the United States ran Crown Victorias past 300,000 miles in pursuit-rated service, accelerating hard, braking hard, idling for hours in summer heat, and accumulating the specific category of abuse that no modern crossover's warranty contemplates. When departments retired them, the cars kept running in taxi fleets, in private ownership, and in the hands of buyers who understood that a retired police car is often one of the best-maintained used cars available at any given price point. The Crown Victoria's Panther platform, body-on-frame, live rear axle, coil spring front suspension, 4.6-liter V8 is mechanical in the way owners who work on their own vehicles prefer: accessible, logical, repairable without dealership equipment. Retired Crown Victorias remain in the used market for under $4,000. The buyer gets a full-size V8 sedan with a documented 300,000-mile record, rear-wheel drive the SUV market has largely abandoned, and a drivetrain whose failure modes were fully documented by 2 decades of fleet service. Number 2. Honda Civic. The Honda Civic of the late 1980s and 1990s was not fast, was not large, was not prestigious, and was not comfortable by any standard that included comparison with full-size domestic sedans. What it was, in documented and consistent terms, was indestructible under ordinary use. The D-Series and B-Series 4-cylinder engines that powered successive Civic generations through the 1990s accumulated 200,000 miles in routine ownership without the kind of catastrophic failure events that define the long-term ownership of most American compact competitors from the same era. The engines were simple, the ignition systems were reliable, and the chassis was built with the specific intention of absorbing the kind of ownership experience that the budget buyer's maintenance budget permitted. Today, a clean 1990s Civic with 150,000 miles is not at the end of its life, it is at the beginning of its second career. Aftermarket parts availability for this era is so comprehensive that finding components for a repair is easier today than it was in 1996. The car that college students bought in 1993 for cheap, reliable transportation became by 2010 a cult object for a different reason: the realization that it had earned a reputation for being extraordinarily difficult to wear out. Number 1. Toyota Pickup Hilux. Jeremy Clarkson drove a Toyota Hilux into the sea. The truck was recovered, drained, and started. He then drove it into a tree at speed. It started. He parked it on top of a 15-story building that was demolished, rode the collapse down, and the Hilux started and drove away from the rubble. This is the specific vehicle that is at number 1 on this list, not because of a television program, but because the program was not scripted. The Toyota pickup, sold in the United States from the early 1970s until it was replaced by the Tacoma for the 1995 model year, was the same mechanical exercise as the global Hilux, a ladder-frame truck with a 22R or 22RE four-cylinder, a simple drivetrain, and a construction philosophy that assumed the buyer would use it in conditions where a parts store was not nearby. American buyers drove the Toyota pickup through the same years that domestic manufacturers were explaining why their trucks were better. By the mid-1980s, the evidence was in the driveways and farms of buyers who had purchased one a decade earlier and were still driving it. Today, finding a clean 1980s Toyota pickup with under 200,000 miles requires patience and a premium that reflects the market's understanding of what the vehicle is.